Hey Facebook, happy Wednesday, coming to you midweek. Trying to do that a little bit more this week so that the newsletter schedule is a little bit more consistent because things have disrupted it from time to time. Still trying to get 2 newsletters out a week, still getting 2 newsletters out a week on Tuesdays and Thursdays, but sometimes event disrupt the one on Thursday and it goes out Friday morning instead. Essentially what's happening now, mostly from my perspective, is that we are leaning into our September special session, which we expect this time the Senate to go in first next week, and then the House will follow on either September 29th or 30th the following week. And we have had we have regular calls about what all is going to be on the agenda for that special session, and the short answer is we don't really know what's on it yet. But the focus is on bills that have wide support that may have already gone through hearings in the truncated regular session, and have some urgency to them, problems that need addressing immediately, or legislation that needs a fix from the legislature. So still not clear what all is going to be included in that list. But a couple of things that, so from my perspective, one of them is an issue in the Environment Committee, and we'll be having an informational session on this particular issue this week. And that is, it's a little bit technical, but I think it's important to explain. It regards an act called the Transfer Act, which is essentially how Connecticut manages properties that have contamination on them. These are not brownfields, which have a much higher level of contamination. So they're a more moderate form of contamination, but it's still contamination. And Connecticut has a system that's based on the transfer of property. So you can't sell that property until you have remediated that problem, until you've cleaned that problem up. And what has happened, we're one of the few states that still have that kind of system. And what has happened is that a lot of these properties then languish and they sit undeveloped and they don't move on to higher uses because the owners are no longer able to pay for the remediation or don't value the property enough to take care of it. And so property sits in sometimes really important locations in our towns and cities throughout the state, undeveloped and vacant, and that causes all kinds of problems for Main Street development, but also vandalism and crime and all kinds of things. So there's widespread agreement that this system doesn't work anymore on, both, from environmental activists and from the business community. And so we're trying to find a solution that works for everyone, which is usually complicated, but we're working towards moving to a release-based system, which essentially means when there is a release of a contaminant on a property, that triggers your responsibility to clean it up immediately, so that it doesn't hold up the transfer of property and the sale of property to someone who's going to put it to use, but it gets taken care of more quickly. Very technical, lots of things that need to be worked out, but we will have a hearing on that on Friday, and that seems to be a topic of enough urgency that it might make it onto our special session calendar. A couple other things that I just wanted to highlight that might make it on. One is, of course, an energy bill. I've talked about this before, but the Energy and Technology Committee has done an amazing job pulling together a really ambitious and complicated bill that would rethink the way our relationship with our electric utilities, both on the immediate sense of, if you're out of power for more than 72 hours, you will get paid, you will get a check for $150. If you have lost food or medicine, you will be compensated for that up to $500. It also requires, improves minimum staffing levels so that we can do something about the lack of make-safe response that we saw in the storm, and also lack of knowledge on the ground of our systems in our towns, and improve the communication system between the electric utility and the people on the ground who understand what the situation is in our towns. So that's part of it. And then there's also part of it that realigns the way our utilities are compensated from essentially a system now in which they are a cost recovery system. So if they propose a capital expenditure, and there are several projects in our community where they are spending seems to be quite a lot of money on capital upgrades that are not clear to me how they benefit consumers, because that's the way they get compensated. They make capital expenditures and they get a 9.25% return on that. we're rethinking that and trying to realign. We understand they need to make a profit. They are a business, but they should be compensated for the things that we define as success. And so the bill works on that as well. It is a complicated bill, but they have done amazing work moving that ahead, and I'm hopeful that some part of that will appear in front of us for special session, with the rest to follow in a regular session in 2021. Another bill that is getting a lot of discussion is a campus sexual assault bill. And the reason this is particularly urgent is because we have a lot of concern that, as college campuses reopening are in the news a lot, and we'll see what happens. Some of them have already decided that they can't do it in person and have gone entirely online, but others are trying to do it in person. And we are concerned that if a college student attends a party that they're not supposed to attend and an assault takes place, maybe they don't report it, or maybe a witness doesn't report it, and maybe the victim doesn't report it because they're afraid about the consequences of attending that illicit party. We need to make sure we're protecting victims and witnesses and encouraging the reporting of that kind of activity. So I'm hopeful that we will see something like that as well. And I will talk about it later next week when maybe we have more details on what specifically we're going to do. Some of it I do expect to be technical fixes to bills that need to get amended, but there will be more on that list for certain. Although I think that the hope generally is that we have a less controversial and challenging special session than the one we had in July, and that it focuses on things that there's a widespread agreement of that need fixing. So the other things that I just wanted to mention, one thing that is nonprofits. So I've been talking about this in the last couple of days, in part because it seemed in the last few days we got a lot of notices and had a lot of conversation about the runs. I am a runner, as you all know, and I used to take great pleasure in running in the various fundraising runs and road races that all kinds of nonprofits through our area have done over the years, and it's been a great way. I've met so many great people doing that and seen so much interesting space in the Northwest corner. But those are largely or entirely being canceled. And I am on the board of an organization that raises money that way, and they're trying to figure out what to do. And so they, like the Y, like a lot of other organizations, are making their runs virtual. And so I'm going to look for more opportunities to participate in those runs virtually and sign up for the ones that I would have run in ordinarily, even though they're not happening. And some of them, if you're a competitive runner and you like to have your time entered, some of them you can even do that. Some of them give you a long period of time in which to run the particular course, and you can time yourself on it. And there's no winnings here. You're on your honor, and you can enter it for the a record for yourself of your own training and speed. So everybody, they're trying really hard to do that, and I encourage those of you who have enjoyed those events in the past to be on the lookout for them. I put some of them in the newsletter earlier this week, and I'll continue to be on the lookout for those. I also wanted to bring your attention. I'm doing another town conversation this week on Friday. That's September 18th at 6 p.m. with First Select Women Jean Speck of Kent. So we're going to have a Kent-focused conversation on Friday, and I have two other towns that I'm just waiting for confirmation for the dates, so I'm looking forward to those two. They're really great conversations, and we're trying to do them, on location, even though we can't do it in person. It gives a flavor of the town, and they've been really fun and interesting, so stay tuned for that. And the other event that I will put in the newsletter for tomorrow that I just want to bring your attention is Veteran Stand Down Day, and that's on September 24th this year, and they will start a limited in-person ceremony in Rocky Hill, and then it will be followed by a day-long a series of online informational sessions about all kinds of resources available to veterans. So if you're a veteran, please look out for information about that. About how to sign into that and how to get access to the resources that are being described and made available. So I hope you have a great rest of your week and have a good weekend, and I'll talk to you next week.